So we are in 1972, and one of the members of Yes was John Anderson, which is the John from the John and Vangelis I'll Find My Way Home, which you recognized while listening to Magenta, remember?
Okay, yes.
So it seems that he got his inspiration while listening to symphonies number 6 and 7 by Jean Sibelius, which was one of his favorite composers. And this song, which is entitled Close to the Edge, is a 19 minutes piece of music which combines...
That's good and long.
It is. And okay, I don't say anything about it, but just that it combines elements of classical music, psychedelic rock, pop, and jazz.
Well, sounds like I'm in for some fun. Finally, yes. It has been a long time coming, and it's not that I was dragging my feet about it. I've really wanted to listen to it for a long time, but, well, many of you have suggested several different ones of their works, but Close to the Edge has consistently ranked at the top, and Close to the Edge is long. And so I needed a time when I could sit and do a long piece of music. And even today it's not ideal. You might hear the chainsaw outside, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about that. So I hope it doesn't interfere with this too much. I'm going to go ahead and listen to Yes. It won't bother me because I have my headphones. I hope it doesn't bother you. And I am eager to do this. I'm curious. Many of you have said, come on, you're listening to all these other bands and things, but you have to listen to Yes first in order to understand. And as a music teacher, as a music student, as someone who teaches the history of music, I understand that. And I don't want to treat it lightly. So here I am. I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm going to see how my impressions are. But here we are with Yes. Close to the Edge. That's such an interesting combination of instrumental sounds, because it led in with this nature track, water and bird songs, and then when the instruments came, this lower instrument, and I assume that some of these sounds are probably relatively engineered a fair amount in the studio. I'm a little bit reluctant to call out the names of instruments, but this lower one right here coming up, some is that bass. It almost has this wild animal sound to it. Like, I don't know, a bear or a tiger's voice or something like that. And it's so interesting because we just came from this natural world intro into this. It fits really well. Did you notice that? Climbing up from the bass, this scale. What is that? Let's do it in reverse. That's a D harmonic minor scale that's being played. Yeah, D harmonic minor scale that's being played as part of this. And that is something that we find in classical music a lot. Usually not quite so strictly, I can't think of a lot of classical pieces where I hear a slow ascending scale, one note, the next, 2 octaves like that. It's paced almost like the tempo that I would have a fairly elementary student practice it on the harp or on the piano. And I promise I'll go a bit further this time. That's interesting. It's a rather brittle flat sound. That's a bit of a surprise. So this tinkly, tinkly, tinkly sound makes me think a bit of the harp. Kind of a synthesized harp sound. It's a bit brittle. It's almost like someone's touching their hand here. Let's see if I can get the right sound. That sound quality. And it's very fingery, busily running around in there. Again, it feels like it's imitating sounds in the natural world. Maybe twinkling stars, or maybe leaves rustling, or water sparkling, or that sort of portrayal of something that you find in the natural world. But what is that? I'm going to keep listening because I don't know what to make of that yet. Okay. So I feel like that whole section I've just listened to, obviously I have never heard this piece before, and I don't really have a sense of the shape of it yet. So my impressions as I go along through a piece of this length might have to be adjusted after I've gone to the end of it. But that feels like a sort of introduction, a preliminary portion of the piece, which is setting us up. I was listening to the way those vocal insertions are. First it was just like one and then out. And then more of this sparkly, busy stuff and the is it supposed to be a saxophone maybe? And then the bass also, they're all very lively and interactive and weaving together. But then the voice comes in again, a bit more. And then again, a bit more. And then here we are, and suddenly we settle into something. What exactly? I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Little suspense here. Now we're settling more. The scale is stepping down now. Idea that there was going to be singing with this, like actual lyrics. Okay, somehow I had the idea that this was an instrumental piece. Okay, so then maybe all of that was an intro. Well, now I have to adjust my thinking a bit. Let's just keep going. Hold on. Do I need to have the lyrics? Are they important to this piece?
Well, of course the lyrics are important to any piece.
Okay, maybe I should have the lyrics. Thank you. So, this voice is not a sound quality that I love. I see how it fits in this music, but it's not a sound quality that I really, a vocal quality that I really gravitate towards. But this is making me feel like, well, it's funny because the compositions that inspired this music, okay, I haven't listened to it all the way through yet. I've just listened to the beginning. But the compositions that inspired this music, to me, seem very different from this music. If I were going to pick a classical composer that I would relate to, what's coming to mind for me is Camille Saint-Saëns, because he was a bit acerbic in his humor. And anybody who listens to the Carnival of the Animals and understands a bit of the humor that's built into that piece of music, maybe you'll hear a bit of similarities between this, at least what I've heard up to this point in Close to the Edge, and some of the sounds we hear in Carnival of the Animals. Think aquarium, or even the pianist. The pianist is treated as an animal in that work, which I think is just brilliant. and this sort of there's a sort of humor in it that is at the same time not really immediately obvious. It kind of hides under everything. I almost get the feeling that that's happening here with this Close to the Edge. I don't know, but that's the feeling I get. Anyway, I'm going to go on. Like here. That's really quirky. Interesting little. That's the way I tie. We relieve the tension only to find out the master's name. Down at the edge, round by the... That's an interesting section because you hear all these different instruments doing their thing and the voice doing its thing, and the articulation of the words in the voice almost behaves like the percussion, another type of percussion. So you have the drums, then you have this and then you have the rhythm of the voice and these other instruments. Then the bass. I guess that's a guitar in the middle. Everything is creating a texture. And then this is more legato here, more full. Back to this rhythmic texture. And now here comes this. Just for a moment, we're back to this. Nice little bit of bass there. Layering of different that could have actually been, well, I like that little spot. It could have actually been done also with voices. Just imagine if every part adding in were a singer, just for fun. So here's the bass. The percussion is holding it together. Now, what if this were one voice? And what if this were another voice? And what if this were another voice? That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Just an idea. This makes me feel like I'm in maybe an aquarium, underwater, looking through some glass. Some menacing creature swimming along the bottom. I even heard water dripping there. Ah, that's interesting. Maybe it's a cave. Very atmospheric. Now the scene is changing a little bit. This music has a very primal, mystical, mysterious quality.
To million people barely satisfied. To 200 women watch one woman cry too late. The eyes of honesty cannot change. How many mysteries do we deceive?
I kind of like this part. I like the way the voices are weaving together, and I like the way that everything is kind of shifting a bit, but at the same time working together.
In charge of who is there, in charge of me. Do I look on blindly and say I see the way? The truth is written all along that page. How old will I be before I come of age? For you, I get up.
That's cool. Listen to what those voices are doing there. All the different parts.
The truth is
The rhythm of the words,
all along that page.
the different voices.
How old will I be before I come of age? For you, I get up,
I like that line walking down there.
I get down,
And I feel that spreading.
I get down,
There's getting to be a more space. Perfect place for the organ to come in. It was almost as if the voices were underground in this, I don't know, underwater cave or something like that. And so we feel there's a sort of ceiling over us, whether it's rock or water or what. And those little drips, water drips that we could hear, kind of made me think of a cave without water in it. Although all those watery sounds were making me think of maybe a tunnel underwater. Anyway, whatever. The voices are in that space, whatever that space is. And so we felt a sort of limit, a constraint, an encapsulation. And then there was this point at which they started to open the space for us. One went higher, one went lower, and the dimension between the top and the bottom increased to the point where it was as if they made room for the organ to enter. Kind of like, on stage when you have the curtains opening like this, and it makes room for the performers to come out. It's a really interesting effect. I want to listen to that again. I enjoyed it. There it is. And so now the organ has taken front stage. Very nice.
I get down, I get up, I get down.
You can tell I love organ. Maybe it's the classical musician's electric guitar. There's something about the power of it. It's incredible. Edgy, dissonant suspense. And then a bit of release. Interesting. To have both of those instruments together, it works pretty well. This is something different. So much happening so quickly here. It's shifting from one to the next to the next. A bit patchwork in style. Makes me think of that was leading us back into the voice. I remember this bass part from earlier in the song. Yes, this is kind of coming from earlier in the song. Climax. Summing up everything we've been through so far. And now it's this forest sounds outro again. Almost as if we've been underground and now we've re-emerged from wherever we've been. That was quite an experience. And I guess I can understand why so many of you have said, you really must listen to Yes. It's quite a complex piece of music. It's long enough that I am going to need to take a bit of time to dig into it before I come back with an in-depth portion. But my first impressions are, and you probably picked up on this as you watched me listen to it, there are portions of it that I don't love, that I don't really relate to immediately. And there were portions of it that I really enjoyed. This last section, well, all the way through, sometimes when I'm faced with a challenging, some music that challenges me, that I have a hard time figuring out how to get into, sometimes the question I ask myself is, if this were going to be a piece of visual art, something you hang on the wall, a framed print or painting or something, what style of painting would it be? In other words, would it be a Rembrandt? Would it be a pen and ink? Would it be something really, well, would it be Picasso? Would it be an impressionist painting? Would it be all of these different... Sometimes it helps me to think in terms of visually. How does this sound? What sort of sound does this... What sort of picture does this sound paint, is what I'm saying. I have to get my words together here. I can't quite figure out what type of art this would be if it were visual art. Towards the end, when I started commenting about how it's changing so quickly, I got this idea in my mind that it might perhaps be a strip of undeveloped film with different snapshots one after the other, at least in that portion, but I'm not sure that really applies to the entire work yet. Maybe it's not the type of music that really translates well into some type of visual art. I'm going to think about it just because sometimes that helps me find my way into something that I'm very unfamiliar with. But there we have my first exposure to Yes, and it's going to be a fun project to dig into it and prepare for the in-depth. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm so happy I finally got to sit down and listen to this. I do hope the chainsaw didn't bother you. And this is going to be a nice project. Thank you very much. And I'll see you soon.
Do you think the title is appropriate to this piece of music?
Close to the edge?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, when I heard Close to the Edge, I've had in my mind this idea that maybe it would be some very either dramatic or intense or scary piece of music, or something with a lot of suspense. It did have something there, but nothing really that made me think that was what the title meant. I'm not sure. But of course, reading through the lyrics, which I did partway through, I also get this idea that this is more of a, I don't know, the lyrics contribute to this idea of a primal, mystical, mythical experience or world. And maybe close to the edge. I'll have to explore that because I really don't know right now.
Well, you got close to the edge today. Yes, indeed.
Yes.